So those things like that, being in a vehicle, um, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is. I still have it up till now, being the year and a half mark, more or less. And just being in a car is nausea, like nausea. Like some people get, you know, how you can get nauseous from reading in the car, reading a book. So that happens anyway. So it kind of starts here in the temple, like kind of migraine almost, but just like nauseousness. And so yeah, that does lead to an uneasy, unsettling feeling. Just as in people who get not, some people get nausea anyway, being in boats or cars and stuff like this, or elevators, or just feelings like maybe some people get that in the elevator. I've read, or of course maybe roller coasters, but things like it's just that throw your sensory off. It's just heightened. I felt like my senses are just heightened in that. And there's a lot, I guess, to say on that, which I'm sure there's more medically. There's more things to look up, but so as of now, um, uh, then I dealt with doctors. My primary doctor being he would, they're limited on what they can say for long haulers. They don't really they use the term title category long hauler, but it's out of the primary, the general doctors or PCP it's out of their from what their studies are. So they're not there to deal with long haulers. They're just there to deal with the common illnesses or colds or write prescriptions, whatever it is. And I'm not talking down on doctors. They're just the primary doctor. And then we go to specialists. But I did feel, I feel that wave back about when people are talking about long haulers. There's this kind of like, you know, because I think it makes people think of the topic and conversation of COVID, which leads a lot of things lead to being, you know, politics and in the medical field, I guess, and in the health field, I guess they don't always want to talk about that. Or it's just this kind of shun thing in a way, and that's just how I felt about it. Um, so not talking bad about my primary doctor. He was doing what he could, and he's been honest. But so I had to go. Now I'm going to start seeing a specialist at a specific hospital, kind of a well-known hospital, and I'm going to be starting a physical, occupational, and even speech therapy, and I'm going to get assessed for that. And I'm hoping that those therapies help a lot. Now, this doctor, this place where I'm going, this outpatient therapy place at this hospital is about 40 minutes or more or less from my house. So it's a longer car ride than my primary doctor. And so I just had thoughts and worries about it because being in the car, all the sensory, but I'm going to trudge through it. And by the grace of God, I'm going to push through it. I have to. Um, but I'm thinking about that and dealing with that car ride. I don't want to be there nauseous or not feeling well, then have to go through therapy and then the car ride back home. Um, and it sounds like, how hard is that to sit in the car, but when you're going through this, you have these different thoughts and feelings. Um, and so for a long time, I was always worried about going back to the ER. I even always have a bag ready. I always have a backpack ready of something I'd want to take me to the ER. I just always had that. I haven't gone back um, over a year. I don't plan on going back. Um, but it's just something that's, I guess you should always be ready for whatever it is. Um, but so I'm hoping and praying that I can get through that, get through the therapy, and that it's beneficial for me. Um, I've done a lot of tests with pulmonologist, um, so a rheumatologist, seen my heart doctor, cardiologist, and thankfully the test with the cardiology came back good. With the cardiologist, it did like usually like a three standard test. You do like they check the heart, the arteries. They do the where they stimulate the heart. With me, they had injected intravenously, and then it made the heart rate go up. I was dreading that test, but I survived that one months ago and did it. I did Then they did ultrasound, and then I did the monitor thing. So like they overall, they said the heart looked okay, and the heart valves and all that stuff. So that's good news. Um, I did a test for the lungs. The pulmonologist said there's no scarring. They did the testing, which is good. That's all good. I still have issues with breathing. I still have questions about breathing that the doctor fully can't answer. There's times I'm just talking, and now I'm talking. I was not able to talk like this the first couple of months. I was out of breath, lightheaded, ready to lay down, pass out. Even now, as I talk, I still feel out of breath. There's times where I'm breathing, or just standing, laying, sitting, or whatever. I have to take this extra breath like this, you know, this like deeper breath, not deeper, but when I breathe in deep, it shallows the breathing or something. And I try to explain this to the pulmonologist, and they're kind of more forward and direct. She didn't really know. There's just funky stuff that happened uh, from the effects from COVID as far as breathing. I think they're just still things they just don't know. And I did a breathing test. I failed it the first time. If you guys done a breathing test, you got to go in this little box, clear box, put your mouth in this tube and do all these big deep breaths for like it's a 20-minute thing, more or less. Breathe in, breathe out. You follow the person who's doing it, that text advice, and they tell you how to breathe, and you got to blow all the way out, breathe in fast. So the first time I did it, um, I didn't get past the second stage. I was heart shot up, heart rate went up, had to sit to the side, and I barely left there on my own. I didn't want to go to no ER. And then I had to do it again not too long ago. So there was about probably 4 month gap between when I did it the first time and the second. And the second time I did better. I didn't. There's a second part of it is doing a walking test for 6 minutes or something, up and down a big hallway, and I didn't even do that. Actually, the tech who was helping me, he was so helpful. He was such an honest dude, and he gave me a lot of insight. He said, you know what? Basically, if you push it out, you're gonna feel like not good after, and and I don't want you to have an emergency here, or have to go to the ER for breathing and heart rate up, because he saw the stage I was in, and he's like, even sometimes if we're talking about health wise, and they document something a certain way, and your health providers or doctors or primary gets a report back, whoever, and they're like, oh, he passed all these tests, they're fine, go back to work, and this tech, he helped me with that. He's like, I'm not even going to put you through that. And I'm being honest. So he was being honest with me. And he's like, because even if you trudge through it and, oh, they just see you as this, they'll take away your oxygen tanks and all that. Oxygen was another situation. Um, and maybe I'll touch on that later. Um, but I still have oxygen ready. I've weaned off it a lot. The last time I was using it, I used like 1.5 liters. And I'm trying to wean off it, and I have. And so it's there. I still have a machine. I still have tanks from the healthcare provider. Um, they use an outside company or whatever. So that was another battle of its own. Um, so things like that, that testing, had to do all those tests. Cardiologists, pulmonologists, saw a rheumatologist. Um, a lot of reports came back good, thank God. So now the pulmonologist did a sleep study the first time at a sleep place. That was a challenge. Battles, all these little things are battles. They're all hills you got to climb. And it sounds simple when you're okay or well. You think big deal, but I had to go do a sleep study at a sleep center and did that. I didn't sleep much. And then I barely passed, I guess, what was normal, the numbers. When I spoke to the pulmonologist again a couple months ago, I talked to her again. She says, the numbers were kind of like barely passing. Why don't we do one at home with a little thing you put around your chest and a monitor finger thing? If you guys have done that, maybe some have done that. So I did pretty good, following instructions, knocked out. She's like, you know what, your numbers are drastically different than the one that we did sleep study at the sleep center. I slept longer, slept better. So actually my numbers, whatever it means, went higher, and I got to use the CPAP now. A lot of people using the CPAP. Maybe I can make a video about that later. And so now I'm waiting for the insurance to go through, and I guess there was times where my breathing is real shallow, oxygen drops when I'm asleep. Because that was another thing during this whole healing process. Sleep was rough for me because it was kind of like, I don't think it was, maybe I had an issue with apnea, not sure, but it wasn't just apnea. Uh, when I was first coming home after the hospital, I'd knock out. I was scared to go to sleep. I went to sleep looking at the finger monitor because my oxygen level just dropped. My heart rate would drop low. And I just felt like, man, I didn't know if I was going to wake up or not. So that got better, but apparently I have an issue with apnea. Got to use the CPAP. Um, there's a lot to say. I wish I would have elaborated more on the sleep when I first came out. Also, the finger oximeter, and I'm going to say this to those people who are using the oximeter: do your best to wean off the oximeter, okay? Because it can be habit forming, and yes, it does psychologically play an effect on you. I was using the oximeter for like every little thing, check heart rate, breathing, which is good too. It is good to check it. I mean, don't get me wrong, but if you can check it, wait a few seconds, let it kick in, look at it, and then put it to the side. Just do your best to put it away because you got to go by how you feel. You got to go how you feel. And if your oxygen level is decent, I mean, you're 95 or above. Yeah, they say in the 90s are good, but 95 above, you're okay. Like you don't in the ER, they won't take you in there unless you're like 90 and under. Okay, then there's issues. But if you're 95 and up, I was watching every little tidbit of number, and they're not perfect. A lot of those things, you got to have your arm elevated, good temperature, um, and there's certain things to take into account. I mean, they do help, but uh, it made a. I was always looking at so then the stresses kick up, and yes, that can happen. So, and actually, when I was in the ambulance, one of the ambulance people they did advise me to say, try not to use that so much. Don't become dependent on the oximeter, and so try not to do that. Use it, but don't grab it. It's not going to be your lifeline. Don't depend on that. And I did for a little bit, so I got off of that, and that helped. But it does help. I'm not saying not to use it. So anyway, jumping forward to all those tests I've done, those are the types of tests I've done, waiting on the CPAP, and so currently, yeah, that's what's going on currently. The physical therapy, the speech. Um, so I'm going to be cutting this short. I know it's a lot to say. I don't want to ramble too much, and also I would. That's what's going on currently. The PT, and I don't know what's going to happen with my work. I have until about May. Uh, I work for a school district. I'll say that. I don't want to get into detail, but and I've exceeded the year, and I got another 6 months approval. So I don't know what's going to happen after that mark and after that time. And so from there, we'll see what happens. And I would just say, I'm a busy father, husband. You probably hear my little one in the back. So you know me, know who it is. And I kind of want to get into now. I'm going to be speaking on in my next videos more about what got me through it, my faith. Um, some of you who are following or listening are not so faith-based, or I want to say religious, but just on faith. I'm not trying to do anything to offend anybody. Um, Whatever you follow, you follow. Blessings to you. But I will start speaking more upon my faith. I am a born-again Christian. Um, and there's much to say on that in some of my videos coming out.